Welcome. This is a mini podcast of Battles to Blessings Ministries, and all the sermons, books, and information in this podcast overview are written by Pastor Allie. Today, we're embarking on a journey, really, to unpack some truly crucial topics. Things surrounding men's emotional well-being, the intense societal pressures they often silently endure, and the profound path to healing that can emerge when we start to understand these challenges.
Yeah.
We'll be exploring the powerful insights of Pastor Allie, drawing directly from his impactful sermons and his deeply resonant book, Battle Tested.
Right.
Our aim is really to illuminate how his ministry, Battles to Blessings, is actively addressing these pressing issues head on, offering not just information, but, a pathway to personal reflection, maybe greater understanding, and hopefully some genuine inspiration for anyone listening.
And our mission here today is precisely that. To meticulously extract the most profound nuggets of knowledge and the practical insights from Pastor Allie's extensive work. Think of this as maybe your shortcut to understanding the complex landscape of men's emotional health. A gateway, perhaps, to personal healing and a catalyst for growth, especially for men who might be grappling with those silent battles. The sources we're exploring today, they collectively provide this powerful, authentic narrative of struggle, resilience, and ultimately spiritual transformation. The core theme, really, at the heart of it all, is understanding those hidden wars many men wage within themselves. And then, crucially, discovering a tangible, actionable path to healing and renewed purpose, often found, through faith and supportive community.
Yeah.
And Pastor Allie brings a truly unique and deeply personal perspective to this. His own life story is just intrinsically linked to the very mission and passion behind the ministry he leads.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. We kind of have to start by directly addressing a pervasive societal problem. It impacts men everywhere, really. This profound emotional suppression that's ingrained from childhood.
It really is.
From the earliest age, boys are just bombarded with these cultural mandates, right?
Yeah.
Not just suggestions, but expectations. Messages like, stop crying, be tough.
Right. Man up.
Exactly. Man up. Or you're only as valuable as what you can provide. And that ubiquitous dismissive phrase, suck it up and deal with it, get back to work.
Yeah.
These aren't just isolated comments, They're woven into the very fabric of how many cultures define masculinity. Think about the cumulative effect of a lifetime hearing this stuff. It effectively forces men to internalize their emotions, to build these intricate masks, to become what Pastor Allie vividly describes as silent soldiers, fighting a war few people even know is happening.
And this leads to a very specific and damaging archetype we see way too often. It's what Pastor Allie refers to as the shutdown type of guy.
Yeah.
This is the man caught in like an impossible bind. On one hand, society demands he be the provider, right? The strong, stoic, unwavering pillar. Someone who can fix problems, but crucially, never actually feel them.
Right.
He's expected to be the solution, not the person with problems. But then this insidious contradiction emerges when he inevitably bottles up all these emotions, when the well of romance or sweetness, runs dry because he's just emotionally starved and exhausted. He's then labeled weak. But conversely, if he does dare to try and express his true feelings, if he attempts to set a healthy boundary or, God forbid, actually share a moment of vulnerability, he is swiftly labeled toxic.
Wow. Yeah.
It's an absolute devastating lose-lose situation that ensnares countless men, leaving them feeling just totally isolated and without a safe emotional outlet.
That's such a powerful and frankly accurate description of the trap. It really is like society sets them up to fail, demanding these completely contradictory behaviors.
Precisely. And the cost of this enforced silence, as Pastor Allie so powerfully articulates in his book Battle Tested, is absolutely devastating. He doesn't mince words. He states unequivocally, men are quietly dying. And this isn't just some dramatic phrase. It's a stark, verifiable reality. We are witnessing the tragic loss of fathers to silent suicide, brothers succumbing to silent addiction. These are men desperately trying to numb a pain they were explicitly told they shouldn't feel, that they should just suck up.
Right.
And the ripple effect, it extends deeply into relationships. Wives are losing husbands to this emotional shutdown, leaving them feeling profoundly alone, isolated, utterly unloved within their own marriages, even when he's physically present. This emotional repression isn't just a personal struggle. It's a direct, measurable contributor to the deterioration of marriages and intimate relationships. It makes it increasingly difficult for a man to be an engaged, present, and emotionally available father to his children. It's this vicious, intergenerational cycle perpetuating unseen suffering.
That's awful.
And what's particularly infuriating, something Pastor Allie really highlights, is the profound societal contradiction at play. The world, our culture, he states, often adds insult to injury, mocking our pain while simultaneously demanding, "Why don't you talk?"
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's a cruel, almost sadistic irony. This culture has deeply ingrained in the male psyche this corrosive lie that worth is tied to our utility, our productivity, our ability to solve problems, never to have problems ourselves.
Right. You're valued for what you do.
Exactly, not for who you are. And this pressure to perform, to be a constant problem solver, it just leaves no room for vulnerability or admitting your own struggles.
And the practical grim reality of this emotional suppression, well, it's backed by truly heartbreaking statistics, isn't it?
It is, unequivocally. While the precise numbers can vary slightly by region and demographic, the consistent global trend is just undeniable. Men disproportionately account for suicides. For instance, data from organizations like the World Health Organization, national health agencies, they consistently show men are typically 2 to 4 times more likely than women to die by suicide in many countries.
2 to 4 times.
Wow. And what are the consistent contributing factors? Emotional repression, unexpressed pain, overwhelming feelings of worthlessness, they're right at the very top of the list.
Yeah.
This emotional suppression also directly correlates with higher rates of addiction among men, whether it's substances or behaviors, often serving as desperate attempts at self-medication for pain that's just unacknowledged and unaddressed. These aren't isolated individual tragedies. This is a widespread crisis affecting families at their core, impacting communities, and casting this long shadow over future generations. The pervasive ripple effect of this silent epidemic is, sadly, undeniable and just so far-reaching.
Yeah. I can relate to so much of what you're saying about that strong silent type, that pressure to just internalize everything, to never show a chink in the armor. It's something I've absolutely experienced. There's this unspoken fear, isn't there, that if you show any vulnerability, you'll immediately be perceived as weak. I remember times, especially, early in relationships, where I struggled immensely to express what I was truly feeling.
Yeah.
Or if I did try, I felt completely misunderstood, like I was speaking a different language that nobody else could decipher. It's this immense weight when you're expected to just provide and fix everything, but you're simultaneously told that your own feelings are, well, irrelevant or worse, a burden.
Right.
And that builds up. It undeniably damages connection, creating this chasm in relationships. For me, the turning point, the beginning of a different path, was when I truly started to lean into my faith. God began to show me a different way to be strong, a way that embraced authenticity instead of demanding that emotional stoicism.
That's incredibly candid and frankly vulnerable of you to share. And it perfectly encapsulates what Pastor Allie means when he discusses the masks men wear. It's crucial for listeners, for you to understand that admitting to these struggles, acknowledging this pressure, it isn't a sign of weakness at all. In fact, it's the courageous first step toward genuine strength, profound healing, and deeper, more authentic connections. Your experience really underscores the very real personal impact of these societal expectations.
And, from my own perspective as a woman, I've had my own significant aha moments with this very dynamic. Looking back at early relationships, I can honestly see how I might have unintentionally contributed to men shutting down, or even tragically being labeled toxic. I grew up, like many of us, with some of those same deep-seated societal expectations that the man is the provider, the unwavering rock, the one who handles everything, but crucially, without emotion. There's this unspoken belief that their role was purely functional. And sometimes, when a man would genuinely try to express vulnerability or attempt to set a boundary for himself, I might have reacted negatively, without realizing the immense courage it took for him to even try. I might have misconstrued it as a sign of weakness or even a personal attack rather than a genuine attempt at connection.
Wow.
I vividly remember a pivotal conversation with my Christian mother, a truly wise woman. She, through the profound clarity of God's word, helped me see with, frankly, excruciating honesty that my communication style, my expectations were inadvertently ruining a good man.
It must have been hard to hear.
It was. It was a humbling, eye-opening realization. I learned that healthy communication, especially within a Christ-centered relationship, means actively fostering an environment of emotional safety for men. It's about recognizing that true strength comes in many forms, and it certainly isn't diminished by a man expressing his emotions or setting boundaries. True intimacy, the kind that thrives and deepens, it flourishes only when both partners feel safe enough to be fully themselves. with all their complexities, their vulnerabilities, their complete range of emotions. It's a continuous journey of learning and relearning, guided by compassion and understanding.
What's profoundly insightful here is how your experiences, both yours and the struggles Pastor Allie describes, they just converge on this central urgent theme of emotional authenticity.
Yeah.
Its absolutely profound impact on the health and depth of relationships.
Yeah.
It highlights that the solution really requires mutual understanding and a reevaluation of those outdated societal norms from both sides.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Pastor Albert Alley's story. It isn't just a powerful narrative, it's a living, breathing, compelling testament to the possibility of profound transformation and deep healing.
Absolutely.
When you hear him speak in person, the authenticity, the raw honesty, and the sheer passion are just palpable. We've both had the privilege of witnessing it firsthand, haven't we? And it's truly a profoundly moving experience.
Oh, definitely. His energy is incredible.
It really is. His personal battles are not just isolated anecdotes. They are the very crucible from which the Battles to Blessings ministry he founded was forged. His life is the proof that even the deepest wounds can be transformed into powerful platforms for purpose.
Indeed. And to truly grasp the depth and the driving force behind his ministry, you really need to understand the crucible of his early life and struggles. It's a story that, honestly, without exaggeration, evokes deep emotion and powerfully highlights the incredible resilience of the human spirit when touched by grace. Pastor Allie recounts being born into a world that seemed determined to break him before he ever had a chance to stand. He was born to a child mother, and from his own words in the Battles to Blessings workbook, he grew up in a home where love was overshadowed by pain, addiction, and abandonment.
Just unimaginable.
He describes this innate, desperate longing for stability, for safety, for just a basic sense of security. But instead, he faced emotional and physical abuse that left wounds far deeper than the ones that could be seen, invisible scars that festered for years.
Oh my goodness.
His accounts of specific incidents, they paint a chilling and deeply distressing picture. His mother's unpredictable rage, moments of sheer terror, brutal physical beatings inflicted with whatever was at hand, a belt, a broomstick, even a thick electrical cord that left welts across my back and legs.
That's horrific.
He tragically recalls often being forced to remove long pants to feel the sting on bare skin. And he learned, at a painfully young age, a critical, devastating survival lesson. Crying only made it worse. My screams seemed to fuel her rage.
Oh, that poor kid.
And the cruel, almost incomprehensible irony was her yelling, "Why are you making me do this to you?" trying to shift the blame onto a child enduring her violence. And then, after the storm, in moments that were equally perplexing and heartbreaking, she would often forget the abuse, asking why he was limping or bruised, seemingly oblivious to the pain she'd just inflicted.
I can't even fathom that.
And adding to this relentless torment, he was forced to give up the meager earnings from odd jobs, simple things like dog walking or sweeping, to support his mother's destructive drug habits, even though she was getting welfare money specifically for their care.
Unbelievable.
As he powerfully puts it, when your own mother is willing to beat you until you break, there's not much you won't hand over just to make it stop.
Wow.
The cumulative emotional impact was profound and lasting. He describes his childhood as hiding bruises and pretending I wasn't hungry. My life was waiting for the day I could finally walk away and never look back. He'd lie awake at night, consumed by this quiet, desperate longing for a mother who would hug him, for the simple gift of safety, for the experience of unconditional love. Instead, he was accustomed to the coldness of loneliness and the sting of abandonment.
That's just beyond heartbreaking to imagine a child enduring that level of trauma, both emotional and physical.
It is. And even as a mere child, he felt this immense, premature weight of responsibility, describing himself as everyone else's rock. Yet, tragically, he was being chipped away at little by dealing with his friends' problems and burdens on top of his own unbearable home life. A truly pivotal, almost fate-defining moment occurred when he was just 14 years old, right on the cusp of 15. This was the infamous Diego incident.
Right.
After his friend was brutally beaten, Pastor Allie, in this surge of protective fury and pent-up rage, took a bat and swung with everything he had. Believing in that moment he had killed Diego, leaving him motionless. He fled the scene, later desperately scrubbing the bat with Clorox and dumping it.
Oh my God.
The chilling whispers of Diego being in a coma, possibly dying, coupled with a friend Julio's casual but haunting remark, "It's good to have friends who look out for you," brought him to this stark, terrifying realization. He knew with absolute certainty if I didn't leave soon, if I didn't change my ways, I wasn't going to survive. That profound, life-altering experience, combined with the unbearable, relentless hell of his home life, ultimately led him to make a desperate choice.
Yeah.
He chose the streets over the hell he was born into. At 15, he became homeless, thrust into a brutal world where he lived purely in survival mode, fighting, running, doing whatever it took to get through another day.
Hmm.
For him, this early traumatic conditioning to suppress emotions became a fundamental, non-negotiable survival mechanism. Growing up in that home where unpredictable rage and physical beatings were common, he learned to grit my teeth, to take it in silence, because crying only made it worse. There was just no space for vulnerability, only for enduring.
That profound journey from such intense struggle, that's exactly what Battle Tested truly embodies, isn't it? It means you're still standing, still breathing, still present, despite immense adversity.
Exactly.
It's not about miraculously avoiding the fight altogether, but rather about surviving it, about enduring the crucible, and then powerfully emerging from it with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of true strength. And this aligns so perfectly with one of Pastor Allie's most profound and, I think, comforting quotes, a message that resonates deeply with so many men. God loves you not for what you can do, but for who you are.
Wow, yes.
You don't need to fake it with God. He sees every tear behind your smile, every war behind your words, every ache behind your stoic facade. He invites you to bring it all to him. That is just a revolutionary concept for so many men who've been taught they must constantly perform or achieve to earn love or acceptance. It's a complete paradigm shift.
It truly is transformative. And the turning point for Pastor Allie was precisely this: finding God, and through that encounter, stepping into his divine purpose. He describes what he calls a Jonah moment, referencing the biblical prophet Jonah, who initially fled from God's command.
Right.
Pastor Allie, too, deeply resisted God's initial call to ministry, feeling profoundly unqualified and utterly broken by his past. He wrestled with God, articulating his deep-seated doubts. How can you possibly use me? I'm just a broken man. I've made too many mistakes. I'm not worthy of this call or any significant purpose.
I think a lot of people feel that way sometimes.
Absolutely. But as he soon discovered, God's grace was infinitely bigger than any of his doubts or his past. He began, step by hesitant step, to share his story, his experiences, his raw truth. And in doing so, he realized with dawning clarity that God was using every single struggle I faced, every wound, every moment of despair, to prepare me for a life of purpose beyond anything I could have imagined. This experience led to a radical redefinition of his very identity. He transitioned from being merely a survivor, from a broken boy shaped by trauma, to becoming, as he puts it, a man of God, a son of the King. An identity rooted not in his past, but in divine love and calling. He embraced God's boundless grace and forgiveness, which allowed him to truly transform his pain into purpose and his battles into blessings. He learned a revolutionary truth about genuine strength, that being tough wasn't about putting up your hands and hurting others. No, he realized it was about offering your hands and healing others. And this concept of vulnerability, a trait often misconstrued as weakness, is beautifully illustrated by the shortest verse in the entire Bible. John 11:35, Jesus wept.
Yeah.
As Pastor Allie often powerfully declares, challenging those deeply ingrained societal lies about masculinity, strong men cry, healed men heal others, and Jesus did both. It's a profound, liberating message for every man.
So given all this, what does this all mean for you, the listener, who might be carrying similar burdens or silently struggling with those very same societal pressures? How can men, drawing from Pastor Allie's powerful teachings and battle-tested and his moving sermons, how can they begin to heal from these pervasive societal wounds and deep personal scars? This is where the practical application really comes to life, right?
Absolutely. Pastor Allie offers clear, actionable strategies, profoundly rooted in biblical principles, designed to guide men from just surviving to truly thriving. The first, and arguably most foundational, is an invitation to surrender and restoration.
Okay.
Now, this isn't a call to weakness, but to profound strength. It means to cease performing, pretending, and hiding, to stop merely surviving and truly begin living. It's an invitation to bring all burdens, brokenness, shame, anger, addiction, and silence to a higher power. Pastor Allie references the tender, open invitation from Matthew 11:28, where Jesus lovingly says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest."
That's powerful.
And what's unique about Pastor Allie's approach to surrender, especially for men, is how he addresses that deeply ingrained cultural barrier to vulnerability.
Yeah.
He gets it. He understands that for a man taught to solve all problems, be self-sufficient, never show weakness, the idea of surrender can feel like capitulation. like losing control.
Right.
So he reframes it. It's not giving up, but giving over and trusting your burdens to someone infinitely more capable,
Right.
which paradoxically leads to true control over your life. He emphasizes the surrender isn't about being passive. It's an active choice to lay down the heavy burden of constant performance and self-reliance, recognizing true strength comes from God. This message resonates deeply. You are battle-tested. Now be battle-healed. It's this powerful reassurance that your presence in this moment is not accidental, your journey is not over, and you're not broken beyond repair.
Battle tested. Now be battle healed. I like that. And that concept of healing, not just for yourself, but how that healing then extends outward, impacting others, that's so incredibly critical, isn't it? It turns personal transformation into like a ripple effect.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that leads directly to a key concept meticulously detailed and battle-tested.
Yeah.
The ripple effect of a man's healing. When a man truly engages in this process of healing, it doesn't just impact him in isolation. It creates these profound positive waves that touch everyone around him, starting with his immediate circle and extending outward into his community.
Okay, break that down for us.
Sure. So, personally, the healed man experiences emotional freedom like never before. He reclaims his restored self-worth, no longer defined by what he provides or how well he performs, but by his inherent value as a child of God. He discovers, or rediscovers, his true purpose, aligning his life with God's design. In marriage and relationships, healing translates into deeper, more authentic intimacy. The masks come off, allowing for open, honest communication. Trust is rebuilt, solidified, transforming potentially fractured connections into bonds of mutual respect and understanding.
That's huge for couples.
Huge. Then in fatherhood, the impact is immediate and generational. A healed man becomes a present and emotionally available parent, actively breaking destructive cycles of neglect, emotional absence, or even abuse that he might have inherited. He models a new, healthier form of masculinity for his kids.
Breaking those cycles.
Yes. Yeah. For the family legacy, this healing means the disruption of generational curses, those patterns of pain, dysfunction, brokenness, and conversely, the activation of blessings for future generations. He effectively changes the trajectory of his family line, paving a new path. And finally, for community and ministry, a healed man provides a powerful living platform for empathy, understanding, and redemption. He becomes a beacon, allowing his story to inspire and help pull others from the very edge he once stood on, becoming a testament to God's transformative power.
That's incredibly hopeful. It illustrates precisely how deeply personal healing has this profound exponential impact far beyond the individual. Truly inspiring.
It truly is. Another absolutely vital strategy Pastor Allie emphasizes is the importance of walking with the Lord through consistent, daily practices for spiritual growth and strength.
Okay.
This isn't some vague concept. It's a practical, disciplined commitment. It begins with consistent prayer and communication, learning to speak to God daily, to pour out your heart to Him without reservation, and crucially, to listen attentively for His guidance. For men who struggle to articulate feelings, prayer offers this safe, judgment-free space to process emotions directly with their Creator.
That makes sense.
It also means diligent Bible study, consistently immersing oneself in Scripture to find wisdom, comfort, solace. Pastor Allie points to verses like 2 Corinthians 5:110, which powerfully declares that if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here.
New creation.
Right. He draws strength from James 1:23, reminding us to consider it pure joy whenever you face trials, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And he leans heavily on Romans 8:28, affirming the truth that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. These scriptures provide a foundational truth that counters those lies of worthlessness and isolation.
Yeah.
And finally, community is absolutely essential. Healing is rarely, if ever, a solitary journey. It involves actively finding supportive church communities, trusted mentors who will speak life, encouragement, truth into you, rather than letting you retreat into isolation. For men conditioned to bear burdens alone, finding a safe brotherhood where vulnerability is honored, not mocked, is truly revolutionary.
That sounds like a powerful and practical roadmap for spiritual and emotional growth. But how does Pastor Allie's teaching specifically address that incredibly common struggle with self-doubt, especially for men who've been relentlessly told their worth is solely tied to what they can provide or accomplish?
That's a crucial point, and Pastor Allie tackles it head-on. Overcoming self-doubt by seeing oneself through God's eyes.
Okay.
This isn't just a feel-good platitude, it's a radical shift in perspective. It's about consciously and systematically replacing the insidious lies that society and past trauma have whispered into a man's heart. I am not good enough. I am a failure. I am unlovable, with God's unwavering truth. A particularly powerful example he often cites is Philippians 4:1, a verse that becomes like a mantra for transformation. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This isn't about self-reliance, it's God-reliance.
That's a key distinction.
It is, and Pastor Allie masterfully highlights biblical figures who wrestled with profound self-doubt, much like many men today, yet were powerfully used by God precisely because they leaned on him. He points to Moses, who felt utterly inadequate as a speaker, a leader.
Right. Stutter.
Exactly. Yet called to lead a nation. He speaks of Gideon, who saw himself as the weakest, a nobody, but was called a mighty warrior by God. Jeremiah felt too young and experienced, but God sent him anyway. And then there's Peter, who vehemently denied Christ multiple times, yet was restored by Jesus himself to become this bold, foundational leader.
Yeah.
These stories serve as irrefutable proof that past failures, perceived weaknesses, or even deeply ingrained feelings of inadequacy do not, under any circumstances, disqualify you from God's immense purpose for your life. They become part of the very testimony.
That's so encouraging.
A parallel strategy Pastor Allie emphasizes is trusting God's timing. This is particularly challenging in a world that demands instant gratification, right? Immediate solutions. He explains with deep conviction that waiting is not wasted time. It is a season where God works deeply in our hearts. It's a period of preparation, of refining that makes us truly ready for the blessings and purposes God has in store. Blessings we might not have been mature enough or strong enough to handle otherwise. His own life, filled with incredible hardship, seemingly endless waiting, periods of feeling utterly lost, stands as a powerful testament to this truth. He often shares his profound realization. If God had given me what I wanted at the exact moment I asked for it, I wouldn't have been ready for it. I had to go through the fire so I could come out stronger, purified, and equipped. This perspective transforms periods of frustration into seasons of growth.
Turning waiting into preparation. That's a powerful reframe.
It is. And finally, the power of testimony is presented as a critical, non-negotiable step in the healing process and beyond. Every single believer, regardless of their past, has a unique story to share. These aren't just personal accounts of struggle and triumph. They are powerful declarations of God's unwavering power and faithfulness. Sharing your story not only strengthens your own faith, reinforcing the reality of God's work in your life, but also, crucially, encourages countless others who might be walking through similar battles in silence. Revelation 12:11 powerfully declares they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony.
Wow.
Pastor Allie uses vivid imagery here. Your past does not disqualify you. He passionately states, no one is too far gone. And in one of his most memorable phrases, he reminds us that even if your life feels broken or messy, your story, no matter how broken the crayons, still colors. It's about letting God use every part of your journey for his glory and for the healing of others.
Your story, no matter how broken the crayons, still colors. I love that. And how do these profound principles translate specifically into the context of relationships, particularly for the Christian husband, directly addressing those difficult dynamics we discussed earlier, the communication breakdowns, the emotional shutdown, that painful cycle of emasculation?
That's where the Christian husband's journey provides truly practical, Christ-centered applications for men to transform their marriages into thriving, grace-filled environments. First and foremost, communication with your spouse is absolutely essential for a Christ-centered marriage.
Okay.
It's not just about talking. It's about how you talk and how you listen. It means using mindful, intentional words, remembering the wisdom of Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger.
Gentle answer.
Right. This requires intentional humility, a willingness to be the first to apologize, to genuinely ask for forgiveness, and to offer it freely. Crucially, it means actively, empathetically listening to your wife's perspective, validating her feelings, being willing to compromise and work through conflicts in a healthy, Christ-like manner, rather than retreating into silence or shutting down. Pastor Allie emphasizes that a man who learns to truly listen often finds the key to unlocking his wife's heart.
So it's about cultivating that relational landscape where both partners feel safe and heard, breaking that cycle where men feel they can't express themselves without being labeled.
Exactly. Secondly, emotional and spiritual intimacy are presented as deeply interrelated and fundamentally crucial for a robust marriage. This intimacy is actively fostered through consistent, meaningful conversations, spending quality time together, engaging in activities you both genuinely enjoy, and nurturing your spiritual connection as a couple. This includes reading the Bible together, praying together, actively participating in church activities as a unified front. When both partners are aligned spiritually, growing together in faith, it naturally strengthens and deepens their emotional intimacy, creating this powerful bond that transcends daily challenges.
Makes sense. Connected on all levels.
Precisely. Thirdly, the traditional role of providing and protecting is expanded beyond just physical needs to encompass emotional and spiritual well-being. This means sacrificially loving your wife, treating her with profound respect, unwavering compassion, mirroring Christ's love for the church. It involves spiritually leading your family, not through authoritarianism, but by setting a humble, godly example, like we see in Deuteronomy 6, Ephesians 6, Proverbs 22. This is about active, engaged, empathetic headship. Understanding that true leadership in a Christian marriage means serving, cherishing, creating a safe, nurturing environment for your family to flourish emotionally and spiritually. It counters the idea that providing means only financial, allowing men to step into a richer, more holistic role.
A much fuller picture of leadership.
Yes. And finally, forgiveness and grace are highlighted as absolutely essential for both partners in a marriage, forming the bedrock for long-term health and resilience. Matthew 6 reminds us, if you forgive others their transgressions, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. James 2 powerfully states, mercy triumphs over judgment.
Mercy triumphs.
This involves making a conscious, deliberate choice to forgive, even when it's difficult. It requires practicing empathy, genuinely trying to understand your spouse's perspective and intentions. And vitally, it means letting go of past hurts and resentments, refusing to allow the past to constantly derail the present and future of your relationship. This comprehensive path, as taught by Pastor Allie, actively encourages men to embrace vulnerability, lean wholeheartedly on God, and step into a new, healthier, more fulfilling way of relating that profoundly blesses not just themselves, but their entire family unit, turning marital battles into blessings.
This is such vital work, truly foundational for men and for the health of families. And what you're hearing right now, this overview, is actually part of the upcoming Battles to Blessings podcast.
That's right.
Pastor Allie will be sharing sermons that will be available on Spotify, YouTube, and other platforms to be announced later. That's why we always talk about Pastor Allie in this ministry, because this is an integral part of how his powerful message and impactful work are going to be widely shared as a direct resource.
And leading into that broader podcast, a cornerstone of the ministry's immediate future is the highly anticipated inaugural men's conference, scheduled to take place right here in Queens, NYC.
Okay. Local.
Exactly. And the overarching purpose of this conference is precisely to address these silent struggles we've been meticulously discussing, to provide a much-needed, dedicated space for men to find profound healing, renewed purpose, and genuine community. Pastor Albert Allie himself will be delivering one of two key sermons at this conference, including the powerful Battle-Tested Turning Pain into Purpose sermon that we've highlighted today. The conference will also feature other esteemed pastors and deeply insightful speakers, all committed to empowering men. A particularly moving element will be men sharing their raw, powerful testimonies of triumph and transformation, demonstrating the real-world impact of God's grace.
Oh, that's powerful, hearing from peers.
Absolutely. There will also be uplifting worship sessions designed to create an atmosphere of spiritual connection. And crucially, structured breakout groups specifically designed for deeper discussion and personal connection, allowing men to share struggles in a safe, confidential environment, listen to others, and build authentic bonds of brotherhood and community.
I can tell you from profound personal experience, having heard Pastor Allie speak in person multiple times, his passion for this message is utterly infectious. His words cut straight to the heart. He's a speaker who connects with people on such a deep, visceral level. Both of us have witnessed the profound, transformative impact he has when he shares his story and unpacks the Word of God with such clarity and conviction. It's truly something to behold.
It really is. And the positive impact of these types of community-focused events cannot be overstated. Extensive studies, observational data, they consistently show a significant rate of healing and positive life change for men who engage in supportive church communities. Men who begin to serve, who find their voices in environments where they feel safe to be vulnerable.
Right, finding that voice is key.
It is. These conferences and community-focused ministries have a profound, measurable positive impact on individual lives, on marriages, on entire families. Directly tying back to that ripple effect of a man's healing we discussed earlier. Battles to Blessings is designed to be a true community-focused ministry, aiming to serve and support the men not just in Queens, NYC, but potentially far beyond, fostering an environment where emotional safety, spiritual growth, and genuine fellowship can truly thrive.
And as we prepare, to kick off these vital events, which are so clearly needed, there's a practical side to making this all a reality, isn't there?
Yes, and we want to be completely transparent about this. Pastor Allie started Battles to Blessings Ministries out of his deep, undeniable calling from God, a calling to transform lives and communities.
Hmm.
However, it takes vital resources to officially kick off a nonprofit organization and to apply for the crucial 501(c)(3) status. This status is absolutely essential for long-term sustainability, for broader reach, and for enabling tax-deductible donations.
Right, that's important for donors.
Exactly. This is precisely why financial support is critically needed right now to make these inaugural community-focused events, and indeed all future broader ministry efforts, a tangible reality. We want to emphasize unequivocally that any donations are well worth it for the profound, lasting, and often generational change they can bring to men, their families, and their communities. And it's not just about financial support. We want to be clear that donating your invaluable time, sharing your specialized skills, or even offering a suitable church space for events is also incredibly helpful and would be deeply, deeply appreciated. This ministry is fundamentally built on the belief that everyone, regardless of their resources, has a part to play in helping men turn their battles into blessings.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, hearing this message today? If you've been moved by Pastor Albert Alley's incredibly powerful story, if you truly believe in the transformative power of men's healing, and if you understand the profound, far-reaching impact that supporting this ministry can have on individuals, on families, and on the wider community, then we urge you to find a way to contribute, to donate, or to help in any way you possibly can to kick off these vital events and wholeheartedly support this extraordinary ministry. Every bit of support helps them fulfill their mission of turning battles into blessings for countless lives.
To contact Battles to Blessings Ministries directly, for inquiries or offers of support, you can reach them via email. That's wordoffaithmissionchurch@gmail.com. I'll say that again, wordoffaithmissionchurch@gmail.com.
Okay.
And if you are moved to offer financial gifts or donations, you can do so temporarily via PayPal using the email address wordoffaithmc@aol.com. That's wordoffaithmc@aol.com.
Got it.
And as you reflect on everything we've discussed today, maybe just consider this. If a single act of courage born from the crucible of personal battle can inspire an entire movement of healing and purpose for others, what hidden strength within your own story is waiting to be unleashed for the good of those around you?